Hi, welcome to Kevin Alone's audiobook reading Start With Why by Simon Sinek. Part 3.6. Historically, trust has played a bigger role in advancing companies and societies than skill set alone. Like the couple leaving their children while they go out on a date for the evening, groups from within a society would go off with confidence knowing that their homes and families would be safe upon their return. If there were no trust, then no one would take risks. No risk would mean no exploration, no experimentation, and no advancement of the society as a whole. That's a remarkable concept. Only when individuals can trust the culture or organization will they take personal risks in order to advance that culture or organization as a whole. For no other reason than, in the end, it's good for their own personal health and survival. No matter how experienced, no matter how proficient, a trapeze artist will not attempt a totally new death defying leap without first trying it with a noose net below him. And depending on how death defying the trick is, he may insist on always having a net when performing the trick. Besides this obvious advantage of catching you if you fall, the net also provides a psychological benefit. Knowing it is there to give the trapeze artist the confidence to try something he's never done before or to do it again and again. Remove the net and he will only do the same tricks, the ones he knows he can land. The more he trusts the quality of the net, the more he will take personal risks to make his act better. The trust the circus management gives him, providing him a net, is probably afforded to offer in other performers as well. Soon all the performers will feel confident to try new things and push themselves further. That collection of personal confidence and personal risk results in the entire circus putting on a much better show. An overall better show means more customers, and the system thrives, but not without trust. For those within the community or an organization, they must trust that their leaders provide a net, practical and emotional. With that feeling of support, those in the organization are more likely to put in extra effort that ultimately benefits the group as a whole. I will admit that there are always those who will take risks for the first time or repeatedly without the net. There will always be those who will explore regardless of who is home holding down the fort. These people sometimes earn their rightful spots as the innovators, the ones who push further, the ones who did things no one else would do. Some of them may advance the business or even society, and some of them even end up dead before they achieve anything. There's a big difference between jumping out of a plane with a parachute on and jumping without one. Both produce extraordinary experiences, but only one increases the likelihood of being able to try again another time. A trapeze artist with a personality predisposed to taking extraordinary risks without a net may be the star attraction in an otherwise mediocre show. If he dies or leaves for another circus, then what? This is the paradigm in which someone is motivated by self gain regardless of the consequence or the benefits to the organization for which he or she works. In such a case, the effort may be good for the individual and it may be good for the group, but the benefits, especially for the group, come with a time limit. Over time, this system will break down, often to the detriment of the organization. Developing trust to encourage people other than those with the predilection for risk, like Nick Leeson, is a better long term strategy. Great organizations become great because the people inside the organization feel protected. The strong sense of culture creates a sense of belonging and acts like a net. People come to work knowing that their bosses, colleagues, and the organization as a whole will look out for them. This results in reciprocal behavior. individual decisions, efforts, and behaviors that support, benefit, and protect the long term interests of the organization as a whole. Southwest Airlines, a company renowned for its customer focus, does not, as a matter of policy, believe the customer is always right. Southwest will not tolerate customers who abuse their staff. They would rather lose those customers fly on a different airline. It's a subtle irony that one of the best customer service companies in the country focuses on its employees before its customers. The trust between the management and the employees, not dogma, is what produces the great customer service. It is a prerequisite then for someone to trust the culture in which they work to share the values and benefits of that culture. Without it, that employee, for example, is simply a bad fit and likely to work only for self gain without consideration for the greater good. But if those inside the organization are a good fit, the opportunity to go the extra mile, to explore, to invent, to innovate, to advance, and more importantly, to do so again and again and again increases dramatically. Only with mutual trust can an organization become great. Real trust comes from the things you can't see. Rambo 2, said the voice over Brigadier General Jumper's radio, referring to him by his call sign. Your Group 180, 25 miles closing fast. Barnyard Raider contact, replied Rambo 2, reporting that he had picked up the enemy group on his own radar. A one-star general, John Jumper was an experienced F-15 pilot with thousands of hours of flight time and over 1,000 combat hours. By all measures, he was one of the best. Born in Paris, Texas, he had enjoyed a distinguished career. He'd flown just about everything the U.S. Air Force had, from cargo planes to fighter jets. Decorated and distinguished, the commander of his own combat wing, he was the embodiment of what it meant to be a fighter pilot, smart and confident. But on that day, Jumper's reaction didn't match the situation he faced. By 25 miles, he would have been expected to fire his weapons or take some other offensive movement. Fearing that Jumper was locked onto the wrong contact on his radar, Captain Lori Robinson calmly repeated what she could see from miles away. Rambo 2, confirmed radar contact. Your group now 190, 25 miles. As the air weapons controller was watching the action on her radar screen from a nearby command and control center, it was Lori Robinson's job to direct the pilot toward enemy aircraft so that he could use his weapons to intercept and destroy them. Unlike an air traffic controller, whose job it is to keep air traffic apart, the weapons controller has to bring the planes closer together. From the vantage point of the radar screen, only the weapons controller has the big picture, as the pilot's onboard navigation system shows only what's directly in front of the aircraft. Captain Robinson saw her job as something bigger, however, than just staring at radar, something more profound than just being the eyes and ears for the pilots who were hurtling into harm's way at 1,500 meters per hour. Captain Robinson knew why her job was important. She saw herself as responsible for clearing a path for the pilots in her care so that they could do what they needed to do, so they could push themselves and the aircraft further with greater confidence. And as for this reason, she was unusually good at her job. Robinson couldn't make mistakes. If she did, she would lose the trust of the pilots, and worse, they would lose trust in themselves. You see, it's confidence that makes fighter pilots so good at their jobs. Then it happened. Captain Robinson could tell from the calm of Jumper's voice over the radio that he was unaware of the threat coming at him. On a cloudless day, 20,000 feet over the desert, the alarm screeched in Rambo 2's $25 million state-of-the-art fighter jet. He looked up from his radar screen, saw the enemy engaging him. Break right, he screamed into his radio. On October 9, 1988, Brigadier General John R. Jumper was killed. Captain Robinson waited.